Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the Supreme Court's brand new blueprint for training the judiciary to use artificial intelligence safely and responsibly. We hear constantly about AI changing the world, but when it actually steps into the courtroom, the stakes are just incredibly high. It is not just about efficiency anymore, it's literally about justice. So, how exactly do we prepare the human workforce for this massive technological shift? Well, that is exactly what we're going to unpack right now.
Think about this for a second. What happens if a robot judge hallucinates? Imagine an AI system that's supposed to be summarizing case law, but instead it just completely invents a past ruling that never actually happened. In the tech world, sure, you call that a glitch, but in the legal world, a hallucination like that could wrongfully alter the entire course of someone's life. It really shows exactly why a mandatory driver's ed for judges and legal staff is absolutely critical before they're allowed anywhere near these systems.
So, here is the Supreme Court's 5-part blueprint for AI readiness that we'll be covering today. AI in the courtroom, who needs AI training, the AI curriculum, building institutional memory, and finally, when AI goes wrong.
Let's kick things off with Part 1, AI in the courtroom.
If we look closely at Chapter 8 of the regulations, you realize the Supreme Court isn't just buying fancy new software here. They are establishing a completely new standard of technological competence for the legal system. This chapter is basically the ultimate training manual. It recognizes a fundamental truth, right? AI is really only as safe and effective as the humans operating it. So Chapter 8 focuses heavily on capacity building. That means taking the existing workforce and upgrading their skills so they aren't intimidated by, but also aren't overly reliant on, artificial intelligence.
Moving right along to Part 2, who exactly needs this AI training? Now, you might think this kind of training is just for the IT department, but Section 49 casts a much wider net to establish who gets the keys to drive this powerful new AI vehicle. The regulation mandates that all judges, advocates, and court staff who interact with AI systems have to receive structured training. It is a total ecosystem approach. Think about it. If a judge understands AI, but the advocates submitting the documents don't, or the court staff managing the digital files are totally in the dark, the whole system fails. So everyone has to be trained on the technical, legal, and ethical dimensions of AI that are actually relevant to their specific jobs. And Section 49(2) ensures that this training is genuinely accessible to everyone. That means it must be provided to district courts and translated into local languages. Honestly, this is a massive logistical undertaking, but it is so vital. We absolutely cannot have a two-tier justice system where the higher courts are AI literate and the district courts get left behind just because of language barriers. The training has to account for linguistic diversity to actually work across the entire judicial landscape.
Which brings us to Part 3, the AI curriculum. We have to be clear, this isn't just some generic tech tutorial. It's a highly specialized legal curriculum developed by the AI Secretariat alongside domain experts and judicial training institutions. A core requirement of the syllabus under Section 49(3)(b) is understanding and mitigating things like AI bias and hallucinations. As we touched on earlier, an AI hallucination isn't just a simple typo. It's a fabricated fact presented with absolute 100% confidence. If an AI is drafting a legal brief and it hallucinates a statute, the human operator needs rigorous training to spot that red flag immediately. To do that, the regulations outline 5 mandatory minimum training areas. First, understanding the functioning and, crucially, the limitations of the AI. Second, spotting that bias and those hallucinations. Third, grasping the legal and ethical framework governing AI, including the rights of litigants. Fourth, data protection and cybersecurity, because let's face it, judicial data is incredibly sensitive. And fifth, knowing the correct procedures for reporting incidents. It really does cover all the essential bases.
All right, let's look at Part 4, building institutional memory. Transitioning over to Section 50, we see how the courts plan to keep this competence going, even when staff or court composition inevitably changes. Because, individual memory is fragile. When a highly trained judge or court clerk retires, all their specific, hard-earned experience with an AI system usually just leaves with them. To counter this, the appropriate authority is tasked with maintaining a living, regularly updated repository of case studies, lessons learned from AI incidents, and guidance notes. It's about building a shared institutional memory. If an AI makes a weird, novel error in one district, the lessons from that are documented and shared out, stopping the exact same mistake from popping up somewhere else.
Now, a really crucial point under Section 51 is that the adequacy and effectiveness of these training programs have to be reviewed at least once every 2 years by the AI Committee and the AI Secretariat. Think about how incredibly fast AI technology is moving right now. The tools we have today are going to look like ancient history in 24 months. So, a biennial review makes sure the training doesn't become totally obsolete and that updates are swiftly implemented.
On top of that, every high court has to coordinate with judicial training institutions annually to actually implement these updates. Devising an annual training calendar makes learning sustainable. It turns AI competence into an ongoing, expected professional requirement rather than just some one-time workshop that everyone forgets about by next week.
Finally, we reach part 5, when AI goes wrong.
Because look, despite the best training and the most robust institutional memory, mistakes are absolutely going to happen. So a vital safety net is established for when AI usage actually causes harm. Section 49.3e says staff need to learn the correct procedures for utilizing grievance mechanisms. This means a separately trained team will be required to handle these issues, especially since there isn't a specified appeal mechanism built directly into the AI regulations themselves. If a litigant feels their case was prejudiced by a biased AI tool or sensitive data got mishandled by some algorithm, there has to be a local, easily accessible grievance redressal system ready to jump in.
But under Section 53, aggrieved persons can still seek redressal through other competent courts. So this traditional three-step route for personal data disputes is still fully available. If the grievance involves a data breach by an AI system, a litigant isn't just trapped in a loop. They can potentially take the matter to the Data Protection Board, appeal that to the Telecom Disputes Settlement and Appellate Tribunal, and ultimately even bring it right before the Supreme Court. Those traditional avenues remain firmly open to make sure accountability is real.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to reflect on these regulations. Does this extensive, meticulously planned training blueprint give you confidence in the judiciary's ability to safely deploy AI? The Supreme Court clearly isn't just rushing blindly into the future here. They're laying down careful tracks to ensure that when artificial intelligence enters the courtroom, it actually serves the cause of human justice, rather than undermining it. Does this framework make you feel more secure about the future of law? Because honestly, that is the question we all need to be asking ourselves as we step into this wild new era.